you and good morning. It's great to be here with you today. Make sure I clicker. There we go. So I am going to talk to you a little bit today about the vision plan in a big sense. The vision plan is just simply the strategic plan that the town uses. We adopted it in 2012 and updated every year. We will be doing in another year, we will be doing a public input session, and we'll see if we need to update anything about the guiding principles of that plan. But every year, council takes a retreat and then develops these projects based on those guiding principles that we're going to talk about. I'm going to start today by talking about the thing that you can't have a conversation anywhere in the country right now and not talk about, which is the COVID-19. A little bit different. Todd said he wasn't going to get into the numbers. I'm going to get into the numbers a little bit. So what did town council do to help the citizens and the businesses in the town of Lexington during the pandemic? Well, they adopted a small business loan program of $1 million, which I hope some people in this room were able to take advantage of. Something that's just tremendous. We have a long history of not raising property taxes in the town of Lexington. You may not realize that because other entities that you see on your tax bill have gone up, but the town hasn't raised property taxes in the town of Lexington for over 25 years. So we haven't raised millage in over 25 years, and council took the huge step of using H-tax to offset some of the general fund expenses and lowered property taxes by 21% because of as a response to COVID. Yeah, it's tremendous. Somebody was clapping. That's how often do you hear of a 21% reduction in property taxes? We also implemented a $250,000 rebate program, and that was to help both the businesses and the citizens. So for a 3-month period, you could send in with your utility bill a receipt from a local business, and you would get dollar for dollar credit off of your utility bill for the money that you spent at a Town of Lexington business. So that way the business got the profits from the sale, and also the customer got the reduction in their utility bill, and that was up to $25 a month, and that was done for 3 months in a row during the shutdown. Suspended water and sewer cutoffs, just like most people did. Suspended H-tax payments and the penalties related to those. So a lot of great stuff town council did. So let's look at what impact we've seen, what recovery we've seen from COVID. All right, so let's start with construction value. Just a couple term definitions so everybody's on the same page. Construction value is the cost of the construction that is being performed. So if you come in and pull a permit for a $250,000 house, that's a $250,000 construction value. So what have we seen? Well, residential increased by $24.5 million in 2020, and that's a calendar year. So we saw a dramatic increase in residential construction during the COVID pandemic. Commercial increased as well by $1.8 million. So yeah, there's a lot of construction going on that's got to help with recovery. We saw net new businesses of 44 or 42. So that's not necessary. That doesn't mean nobody went out of business, but it meant that the new businesses opening up zeroed that out to at least 42. Hospitality tax, this one's a little bit difficult to interpret if you don't realize that hospitality tax runs on a fiscal year, so it runs June to July to June rather than January to December like a normal calendar year. But if you compare 2019's number, averages out to about $240,000 a month. You compare 2021's number, which started way back in July, it averages out to about $200 less than that a month. So we are essentially seeing, you can see the dip in 2020, but we're essentially seeing business for restaurants. This is all prepared food, people that pay hospitality tax. We're seeing them basically at 2019 levels right now. It's actually trending upwards because obviously late summer last year there was still some impact going on. So I expect that number to actually be higher than 2019's when we wrap up at the end of the summer, or at the middle of the summer. So now let's get into some of these projects that we're currently working on, so you guys can complain later about the traffic that you run into because of construction. But you know what they say, you can't make an omelet without breaking any eggs. Well, we're breaking eggs all over the place. So phase 1 and phase 2, the Crossroad Improvement project. This is the work that's going on in front of the middle school, the Lexington Middle School, or where Lexington Middle School was or will once they move. They won't be there anymore. So there are 2 phases to this. They're kind of going on, there are 3 phases. 2 phases are going on currently. So that is the widening of SC6 coming out of downtown. So you see a lot of that work going on, as well as the moving of Dreer Street. So Dreer Street's gonna move over to where Azalea is, and that is the location where you turn into the elementary school right now. So that's, Dreer Street will not be at the intersection it is now between the middle school and the elementary school, and it will slide over to Azalea Street. So that's about a $5.2 million project for those 2 phases. It's under construction right now, and as it says on the slide, it's expected to be completed by 2021. The phase 3 of that is, so once that project is done, the work will slide over to the other side of the middle school, so from the intersection where Dreer Street was located, all the way almost to Herndon Chevrolet, and you'll see a number of improvements there. That project is currently at DOT, it's 60% approved. The construction plans are 60% complete. We expect to start that late winter this year, so December 21. That's a $2 million project. It's gonna fit hand in hand with the phase 1 and phase 2, which also is a puzzle piece for the one-way pair projects that were done. So that way you'll be able to get through, in and out of downtown in a reasonable fashion rather than dealing with the backups. Obviously the one-way pairs has been a great success. We love the numbers we're seeing out of that. And it will tie in and allow that part of 6 to deal with the traffic that's coming out of downtown. The biggest project we have under traffic is Corley Mill Gateway improvements. So this is a $17 million project. This is a neat funding story on this because council used both hospitality tax, so about $10 million of hospitality tax going towards this project, and also TIF district, which is a partnership between the school district and the county that allowed revenue from property taxes to be dedicated to this particular project. So this is a $17 million project. It's in right-of-way right now. We're in the process of acquiring right-of-way, and we expect it to start spring of 2022, and then the completion date is fall of 2023. So it's going to be a good, long construction project. One thing to note is the traffic counts are tremendous in that area. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but we've got 45,000 vehicles a day on 378 at that area, and it's intersecting a road that has 17,000 vehicles a day. So that is more than interstate numbers that those intersections are dealing with. So this project is going to widen and expand that thoroughfare through there and allow traffic to get through much, much better than it does now. So this next thing is phase 2 of the adaptive signals. We've talked about these, or I've talked about these with the chamber before. I'm sure you guys are aware of the adaptives, but essentially they're smart traffic signals. There's 3 phases. We've completed phase 1, we've completed phase 3, we haven't completed phase 2. Phase 2 is everything that needed to have right-of-way purchase to be able to install the signals. Everything you see on this map in red is part of phase 2, and all the green are either phase 1 or phase 3. So these signals, again, allow the traffic signals to operate in an intelligent way and make decisions on the fly based on the traffic that they see. They also allow emergency vehicles vehicles to override them so that emergency vehicles can get through the town all the way to the hospital if they're, EMS or just fire or police respond, or fire, they actually don't work on police cars, fire to respond through these signals so that they get what's called a green light tunnel that will just allow them to flow right through and traffic to clear out. So very important from a emergency standpoint, as well as increasing traffic flow in the town. So what we've seen so far is about a 25% increase in traffic flow or throughput. We don't know what the numbers will be once the rest of the system is installed, but estimates range up to as much as 40% once the entire system is connected. So we're looking for some great improvements out of that. That's a $2.7 million project. That's a great use of funds because there's not very much that you could do from a construction standpoint for $2.7 million. You certainly couldn't get a 40% increase in throughput throughout the entirety of the town for 2.7. I don't know if you could get that for $2.7 billion. So to get it for $2.7 million is an awesome use of funds. Now some more traffic projects. 378 Old Cherokee, which is one of, I believe it's the 4th intersection for traffic collisions in the town. We've had in the past some very tragic collisions at this intersection, and we're going to be making about $1.1 million of improvement at that intersection, which will include how the signals work and some widening of some turn lanes. It will flow much better than it does now and be a much safer intersection than it is now. And so we expect that to start very soon. Well, we really have started. We're working on acquiring right away now, and then anticipate that being done by spring of 2022. Next is Mineral Springs Road. So this is a combination public-private partnership type project. The town's doing about $300,000 worth of improvements that you see on this slide, and then the builders of the gas station that's located at the corner of Mineral Springs and 378 are doing the actual turn lane work as part of their permitted work for construction. And that's going to just allow this intersection to function much better than it does. Currently, a lot of people aren't aware, but the intersection located at the old Hobby Lobby is one of the worst intersections for the amount of time it takes to get through the intersection in the state of South Carolina. So it's 300% over capacity, but it's not because there's a problem at that intersection, it's because it all backs up from this Mineral Springs intersection. So if we can make improvements in Mineral Springs, it should also, obviously it's going to help at Mineral Springs, but it should also dramatically improve the throughput at that intersection in front of the Hobby Lobby. So that's, I think I skipped ahead. No. So that's $27 million in traffic, current ongoing traffic projects. Now we're going to move into quality of life projects. So these are the North Church parking lot. This is located across from St. Stephen's. It's the Liberman Hospital was there for, I think it was built in the 50s. It's gone now, and that will eventually be 135 parking places. Some of them overflow, some of them paved. It's in cooperation with a hotel that's being developed downtown. So it's another parking project downtown to add to our already 1,000 parking spaces, 1,100 parking spaces that we have that are downtown within 1,000 yards of the 100 block of Main Street. So we're adding on to those. Next is the Gibson Pond Dam project. So many who are from Lexington for a long time have awaited this. It was washed out as part of the floods, and it is under construction now. This is in cooperation with FEMA. It's a $5.27 million project. This dam is not going anywhere once they complete it. It has got a lot of concrete in it. So they're working on that currently. Started in July. We expect it to be done in May, so we're nearly there. They've got most of the concrete in now. They've actually removed the concrete plant from the site, and we're moving on to erecting the steel for the walkway, the bridges, that sort of thing. It's going to be beautiful. You can see in this picture over here, it's a little bit difficult to see, but the bridge will actually say Lexington on it. It's going to be really nice to restore that park to what it once was. Another downtown project we've got is the Old Mill Trail. So also waiting on the reconstruction of the Old Mill Dam, which is under construction, $2 million project, and that will be a walking trail around the entirety of the Old Mill Trail. And we expect that to be completed in fall, possibly winter 2021. Just depends on the construction that's going on with the dam and when we can get started on our part of the project. So this is also a TIF project that was done as part of, with the school district as part of the Ice House Amphitheater. So this was the other bookend for downtown. The Ice House on one end, the walking trail on the other. All right, now the pavilion, this project is actually complete. $2.2 million project, 6,800 square foot pavilion at the Ice House Amphitheater. This allows us to be able to have events at that, or when we have events at that venue, we've got now have a place to be able to put the vendors. It is an awesome construction. If you haven't had an opportunity to see it, I encourage you to go by Church and Maiden and take a look at it. And so all the vendors at Ice House events will now be located in there. You can actually pull food trucks into it so that they'll be out of the weather. We'll be holding markets there. So that's our farmers market on Saturdays that start in May. Great opportunity to get out of the weather, get out of the heat. So not use the parking that's located at the Ice House. We think it's going to be wonderful, and it really makes a statement, again, from an architecture standpoint. As part of that project, we expanded the female bathrooms at the Ice House. So they added 7 additional stalls and put in air conditioning into the restrooms. So just like you go anywhere, the female lines are always much longer than the male lines. So we tried to do a little bit something to help with that. All right, Virginia Hilton Park is an ongoing project that hasn't really started construction yet. We're working through the details of the phasing on this. We hope that we will start in 2021. It's haven't been determined yet, and then we expect that it'll probably take about a year for construction. But it's really going to be a complete redo of Virginia Hilton Park, a massive expansion, almost doubling of the park size. A lot of the property that is on the east side of the Branch Creek will be brought in and be part of the project. So if you're familiar with the new parking area on Church Street, everything behind that will now be until you come to the first house down Church Street. All of that will also be tied into Virginia Hilton Park with bridges and connected, so that there will be a massive walking trail system, a beautiful fountain. It's going to be a great project. And one of the most important things we heard from the committee that's working on that design is that to have an inclusive playground. So when Virginia Hilton Park was built, playgrounds were separated. So you had special need playgrounds, you had not in special needs playgrounds. And to be frank, nobody uses the special needs playground because why would they want to be over there all by themselves? So the new way playgrounds are built are inclusive, meaning everybody can use the same playground. So all the kids in one spot, and it's safe for everybody's use. So that's going to be a big focus on that project, and I think everybody will be proud of what we end up with. What we're going to talk about is Wayfinding Signs. So this is only about a $60,000 project. This is a follow-on project, so all of our traffic projects will have this come behind them. This is for the one-way pair, the downtown system, and it's a number of wayfinding signs. You see an illustration right here of what they'll look like that points you to things like the chamber and parks and all sorts of things that where a visitor that's not from here might not know how to get to, make it very easy. You've seen these in lots of cities and towns. It's been a process to get it approved through DOT. We're on those final approvals, and we're ready to go out to bid for that in spring. So look for those coming real soon. And also look for those after we finish the phase 1 and 2 of the Crossroad project. We'll be also putting them there, and then once we finish the Corley Mill project, you'll see them out on 378 there too. All right. So before we move into utility projects, the total cost of all the quality of life is about $12 million. So we went from 20 to 12, or 25 to 12. And now we're going to talk just a little bit about utility projects. I know these aren't as interesting to everybody as they are to me, but they're very important. So I'm going to mention a few that we've got ongoing. They're again very important. So the first is the town took over the Carolina Water I-20 system, which is in the Oak Grove area. That was a system that had a very bad environmental record, and we've taken that system over. We shut that facility down, which was about a 45-year-old sewer plant, and tied it in with the state-of-the-art joint facility in Casey, where we're partners. And we're making improvements throughout that system, upgrading and improving that system so that we don't have those environmental issues anymore. Next is the Watergate wastewater treatment system, almost an exact description of the one I just gave you for the I-20 system, except for this one's out in the old Cherokee, or Old Chapin Road area down at the peninsula down there. So we just took that over, be about a 2-year project to get that facility closed down and send that sewage to Casey and make that a much better environmentally sensitive area that fix those issues. 378 Twin Bridges project. So anybody that's been way out 378, Captain's Choice area, you've noticed that there's a lot of construction going on those bridge replacements. We have a big project tied up in that and sewer. You may not know, but our sewer service area extends all the way into Saluda County. So we're not bound by the town limits on our water and sewer service area. And then we've got some pump stations and line feed stations that are under construction. We're replacing all the meters in this over the next 2 years that are part of the town's meter system. That will allow customers to be able to pull up on their smartphone and see their usage, check for leaks, things like that. Great benefit to the customers. We're relining old sewer lines so that they function better, they don't leak, they don't have infiltration, and adding and locking down manholes for the same reasons. One project I do want to talk about in a little more specificity is the Leekleckley Road gravity sewer system. This is out in the Corley Mill area. This is part of a regional system that the town, that council has authorized and the town's undertaken to install a gravity line out there to prevent. So gravity line, just all it means is it works by gravity. There isn't a pump station. It's not forced into the pipe. It just flows at the natural fall of the land. And so this is a large gravity line that we're installing in that area to eliminate as many of the pump stations from that area as we can. So it has great benefits to the builders. They don't have to build a pump station. It has great benefits for us as citizens because it reduces a point of failure. It's not somewhere where we can have it. You can't overflow a pump station if the pump station doesn't exist. And also its benefit to the town because we don't have to maintain that pump station forever, which is how long we maintain pump stations. As long as the system's in operation, we have to maintain the pump station. So we expect this to be done by 2022. We're in the easement acquisition right now. And then this is a small part of a larger project which will treat that entire area, the entire Corley Mill area, in a similar fashion to tie all the little areas in so that we're flowing to the main pump station out of that area. Gonna have some great results with that. So that's all the projects we have. I think looking at this, you can tell where town council has placed priority. So traffic is number one. We're spending by far the most money on traffic, and council has made that clear that that's the direction. But it doesn't mean you don't do the quality of life things. It doesn't mean you don't do the utility things. Of course, you have to still do those things, but obviously we have a clear priority on traffic. All right, and on your table, you will find a handout which has a number of events that are upcoming. Many of them at the Pavilion, including a parade that's going to happen this weekend for St. Patrick's Day. And just invite everybody to take that with you so that you've got something to remind you of when those events are. Of course, we're going to do everything with responsibly with all the information that we have from the governor's office and DHEC. And I'll be glad to answer questions if we have any. Okay.
Any questions?
Here's one.
Go ahead, Mr. Rowe.
Status on the hotel on Main Street.
My understanding is obviously it's been delayed a little bit because of COVID, but that it's moving forward. Yes, sir.
Brett, whose responsibility is it for the grade crossings in town, the railroad grade crossings, maintaining those?
So that is the responsibility of the railroads. And if you don't know, we say in local government that it goes God, the railroads, the federal government. So, yeah, it's a little bit difficult to get them to cooperate sometimes, but that is their ultimate responsibility. But if you're aware of something specific, we'll be glad to work with you.
I was just thinking like South Lake, that railroad grade crossing on South Lake is terrible.
Yes, we've had a number of 18-wheelers get stuck on that. We have reported it and are trying to work with them to get some improvements made.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One more question up there. Is there a question over here?
Okay, great. Thank you.